Welcome to CC Writes. My name is CC Lepke, and today it's time to shape up or ship out. Prose, much like art, has a shape to it. The shape of prose is created with how information is presented within paragraphs and chapters. It might seem easy to form paragraphs in writing, but the arrangement of ideas within prose can have a significant impact on the way that it's read and, by extension, how the writing is perceived. You can actually improve your prose significantly through the clever act of shaping your writing to guide how your audience understands it. There are two categories to shape that occur within prose: the shape of a paragraph and the shape of a chapter. Like I mentioned in my last video about shaping lines in prose, paragraphs are made up of a collection of related ideas. Chapters, similarly, are a collection of related action, events, and themes. It's kind of like the story of a wedding. A chapter is the disastrous reception, and a paragraph is your drunk uncle hitting on the bridesmaids. In shaping paragraphs, you need to collect related ideas together. This can be a challenge since, succinct as we writers are, we spend a lot of time and words focusing on a single idea. One thing I do to decide where to separate my paragraphs is categorize the ideas based on whether it's an external focus or an internal focus. If I have 9 lines of prose where my character is thinking about a dead bug that she sees on the floor, which is a thing that has actually occurred in my writing, then I separate the paragraphs based on whether she's externally thinking about the bug or whether she's internally comparing that bug to herself. Separating the paragraphs this way causes her eventual comparison of a dead bug to herself to hold a lot more emotional weight. We can also use the length of a paragraph to change how the writing is perceived. A short, choppy paragraph can make the narrator appear panicked or increase the urgency of an action sequence. A one-sentence paragraph is usually read as a full stop, as if the narrator is shocked by what's going on. Conversely, long paragraphs typically feel calm or pensive. The length of a chapter has a similar effect. Short chapters enhance the feeling of sudden, unexpected, or traumatic events. I've even seen one-word paragraphs used to represent a character's fugue state over the course of several months. Long chapters are those moments that we languish in and ruminate over. Like that time the server at the restaurant said, "Enjoy your meal," and you said, "You too." Remember that? Remember it? Yeah, you remember it. As a special side note to help the pacing of your prose, always remember to end a chapter on an action that has some sort of consequence. These mini cliffhangers can help guide your audience to keep reading long after they should have put the book down. Since I mentioned my bug prose before, let's take a deeper look at my work as an example. The carpet scraped against my cheek. I laid on the ground in the dim twilight that peeked through the window of my bedroom. Up on the nightstand, the alarm clock cast a steady glow of green into the shadows, but didn't lift the darkness. Inches from my face was a dead roly-poly, with its many legs caught in the fibers of the carpet and holding it to the floor like a Velcro pad. The bug didn't look like it had ever been alive, with its gray-blue body faded and brittle. It could have been an old bug. Maybe it lived a good long life with a bug wife and a billion bug kids. Or maybe it got caught in the carpet and died alone before it ever had a chance to make something of itself. Stupid bug. Long paragraph, right? It's meandering and outward focused. It feels almost lazy and confused, which actually makes a lot of sense when you realize that the character just woke up on the floor of her bedroom. Its follow-up paragraph is much different in comparison. I could have stayed prone on the floor forever. My muscles ached, my head throbbed, and would it really be so bad if I missed one day of school? Remember when I said that short paragraphs make the prose feel more urgent? Well, in this case, the narrator actually comes across as grumpy. I could have easily combined this paragraph with the next one, but I chose to separate them to give more emphasis to the first line of the next paragraph and, by proxy, the relationship between the mother and daughter. Mom would chew me out if I skipped class. She wouldn't even have to scream. Her face would twist as she looked at me, disgust mixed with disappointment and some other emotion I didn't want to identify. It wouldn't be much different from the way she normally looked at me, but that didn't mean I needed to invite it. This paragraph is a pretty average length. The narrator is considering her mother's disposition, but obviously doesn't want to linger on it. And you can see that clearly because in the next paragraph, she quickly changes the topic back to her environment and the bug as they relate to the actions that she needs to take. My alarm was going to go off soon. I scraped my nose against the carpet and hid my face from the scant light. If I stayed on the floor, would I die like the roly-poly? Would someone find me on the floor of my room, gray and brittle, as if I was never alive at all? A sigh escaped as I groggily pushed off of the ground and turned off the alarm clock before it could sing. It's another average-length paragraph, and it's one that continues on the dark thought process from the previous paragraph. The sudden switch from the last paragraph thinking about the mother to thinking about death in this one sets up a theme for this story and establishes a connection between the narrator's dark outlook and her relationship with her mother. From this point forward, every interaction the narrator has with her mother is going to be shaped by these two paragraphs and how they were presented together. As always, redlining is going to be your best friend when it comes to learning how to use shape. Redlining, as I said in my previous videos about the art of writing prose, is where you take an example from your favorite piece of prose and highlight, underline, or otherwise take note of the elements used in the writing with the intention of understanding how those elements are used. When redlining for shape, you should examine the length of the paragraph, identify its central idea, and compare it to the surrounding prose. Take note of the writing's urgency or the mood that it conveys. Notice when the subject changes quickly or if the writing lingers on a single topic across several paragraphs. Ultimately, you're trying to understand why specific choices were made and how to replicate it in your own work. If you'd like to practice creating shape in your own work, I recommend listing out ideas that you want to convey and the emotion that needs to underlie those ideas. Next to each list item, write out whether it needs a long, short, or single sentence paragraph to best represent what you're trying to write. And then, using your notes as a guide, write out a few paragraphs. Once you're done, read through it and decide if you've successfully achieved the shape that you were going for. If it didn't work, then take notes to figure out what wasn't successful and how you could change it to improve the writing. Each of the elements of writing prose are meant to be used together. Developing any one of these elements are going to greatly improve your writing, but not nearly as much as your writing will improve once you've mastered all of the basics. Lines in prose are the building blocks of shape. The more successfully you craft your lines, the easier it is to form pleasant and meaningful shapes through your paragraphs and chapters. In the next video, we'll add value into the mix to bring even more depth to your writing. I hope you found today's lesson on creating shape in prose helpful. If you want other helpful lessons on writing, check out the video on the top about how to write a story with an ensemble cast. If you're brave, check out the video on the bottom that YouTube recommended just for you. As always, thanks for joining me today on CC Writes. I hope you enjoyed our time together, and I will see you later.